Mm.
Welcome, everyone.
So good to see you. We're going to start with a World Spirit invocation. World Spirit is a prayer for the realization of our integration with the web of creation, and for the transformation of our species from one gripped in fear and self-annihilation to a species that stands for love, wildly creative peace and liberation.
Art can be worship and service, the incandescent core of our soul, a glowing God's eye. Infinitely aware of the beauty of creation, is interlocked with a network of souls, part of one vast group soul. The group soul of art beyond time comes into time by projecting musics and symbols into the imagination. God's radiance, grace, fills the heart and mind with these gifts. The artist honors the gifts of sound and vision by weaving them into works of art and sharing them with the community. The community uses them as wings to soar to the same shining vistas and beyond.
Translucent wings teem with eyes of flame on the mighty cherub of art. Arabesques of fractal cherub wings enfold and uplift the world. The loom of creation is anointed with fresh spirit and blood. Phoenix-like, the soul of art resurrects from the ashes of isms. Transfusions from living primordial traditions empower the artist, take them to the heights and depths necessary to find the medicine of the moment. A new image and song of the infinite one, God of creation, manifesting effulgently, multidimensionally, with the same empty fullness that Buddha knew, and the same compassionate healing that Jesus spread. Krishna plays his flute, the goddess dances, and the entire tree of life vibrates with the power of love. A mosaic and tile maker inspired by Rumi finds infinite patterns of connectivity in the garden of spiritual interplay as the world spirit awaits its portrait.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Hey, everybody. Hey, Amanda. So good to see you.
Such an honor to be here with you and to be here with everybody that's tuning in on this really special time. And that prayer that you just shared with us, it is always so good to hear it again, to read it again. It is timeless. Absolutely timeless, and it encompasses all of it. And how that's a published prayer already, but it's so timely right now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sister. You know, the mission is the same, I think, you know, from generation to generation, we carry a torch and pass it on. And
I think you read that the first large gathering, it was a prayer gathering, World Spirit Invocation, had music, art, dance, wisdom, really, you know, before the full moon ceremonies ever began.
2003.
In 2003. Well, then the full moon had begun.
It was right around
same time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
in San Francisco. But anyway, how are you? Who is this we're talking to? Just tell us about yourself.
Amanda Sage.
Well, we know each other going back almost a decade now, and but for those that are tuning in and maybe don't know my work, and my name's Amanda Sage. I've been painting as a primary focus in my service to humanity the past about 20 years. And I was blessed to work very closely with an incredible, one of the godfathers of visionary art and fantastic realism, Ernst Fuchs, and was, you know, the transmission that happened. Little did I really understand, but I had a good sense of what was really special, you know, or something. There was something that he had, that he offered, and through his work, it was a kind of transmission that I recognized. And I feel very, very honored to carry on in that lineage and to continue to, you know, support others, and also going deeper into their own imagery through supporting them in teaching, painting techniques, and building this culture. And this is something that when I came back to the US after living in Vienna for 11 years, and I met you guys, it was like the whole new chapter of life began. And I very much, you know, it was like coming home to a family, you know. And I feel that this conversation, the multi-generational conversation, is so appropriate for us. And I feel that you guys have been, I mean, you just go above and beyond for your family, you know, you're the love tribe. And it just, I think it's for all of us. It's like, you know, we have incredible role models, you know, and the way that you show up is just, I don't know if I have the words, to be honest, you know, but we live it. And just almost a year ago, we were together at Burning Man, which we have been for quite a few years. And the experiences that we've had there are so woven into this tapestry of this great story that we're a part of, and we're discovering, right, all the time. And but wow, here we are today. And how about you guys? I'm sure everybody listening in knows who you are.
Before we go to us guys, why don't you tell everybody that most people here know, but tell us about the Vision Train. Amanda, you started, like, it's like it's like a skyscraper that you started in the midst of this COVID thing. You just said, I'm doing it. And now it's a skyscraper. So tell us about what the Vision Train's all about.
Well, I feel like it's just getting started, and I've been feeling this for years. And I think I hope to continue to feel that, because it seems to be something, I feel the potential, you know, of this community is so massive. And I feel that we're just also figuring it out ourselves, you know, becoming more receptive. We're honing in our skills. We're learning new mediums. We're connecting. We're building trust, you know. But the Vision Train is something, I've painted it actually at Cosm in the Mushroom Cafe, because the Vision Train, you know, is prompted in many ways by Cosm, you know, by this experience of community and finding a tribe that has a message and that is connected, you know, that there's some kind of divine connection, if that's a way to describe it. There's something that goes beyond really, I guess in some ways, like analytical connections. It's something that's much more mystical, right? And but we started on March 24th. It was the new moon. I didn't even know actually that it was the new moon, but I woke up that morning and I was like, Joe Bob, I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna start it today, and I don't know if it's gonna work, but we're just gonna do it. And so we started a 24-hour indefinitely open virtual art studio, you know, that we were like, let's see if we can keep it open, but no expectations. This is an experiment. We are on a new frontier here. The world has changed, you know, and I knew that in March, and I knew that it was time. It was a call to action. and a call to action to be alone together, to find a place to be alone together and encourage each other, support each other, to create the best work we've ever created, to go deeper into the calling and into our practice, because we do know so much. We have learned so much, all of us. We just often think we need more still, you know, and it's like, no, let's just take what we have right now and get to work. And that's when spirit really comes through, right? You know, and so that's something that I feel like has been happening. And wow, we're almost 5 months deep and we're going strong. The vision train has not gone off track, off the rails. It is going strong, and it's the community, a testament to the community. And I think, you know, this community wouldn't exist without COSM, without the work that you guys have been doing over 30 years, right? Of real focused, consistent, like community building, using your art as a forms of real service, as a beacon for others to find each other.
I just want to say what the Vision Train has done, because there are people out there that maybe haven't visited it or even considered being a part of it, but everybody can register. You have to do a certain amount of things and it's all online, but you can register if you're an artist. They want really artists. They don't want observers or sit-ins. They want artists to be there working and having each other to talk to while they're working. So you're expected to be making art if you want to. You don't have to, but you know, everybody in the room is an artist. And then you have guests, and you have people who take the role as the leader for 3 hours or 6 hours or whatever.
The conductor.
The conductor of the train for 3 hours, and it's handed off. But now Amanda's done a creation so that it has a schedule and it's published, and you can know who's going to come on. So that's why when we drop in, you know, because we, you know, there's, I've missed so many, but there are people that I, you know, would really love to, you know, just visit with or just see their work, because mostly they get on and they talk about their artists. My brief experience. Isn't that true, Amanda?
Well, it's somewhat free form, you know, we're still figuring it out. And I think we're just moving into a phase where we're going to start doing more live broadcasting from the Vision Train when we do have special guests or specific offerings, and there are conversations between artists around a specific subject, their interviews, their presentations, little workshops. You know, there's such a sweet workshop that happened yesterday morning, Paint Your Parent. So it was a riff off of, you know, Karen Charles does a weekly face painting, body adornment experience, you know, that anybody that's there is invited to do this as well. And this was instead of paint yourself, you know, get your child to paint you.
Oh,
I thought that was incredible.
That's amazing. Well, so much creativity is in action on the Vision Train. But I have this future that I just have to tell you, I think would be a really great idea when all the COVID is over and everybody's out and doing things again. We start the Vision Train at a train,
yeah,
like Grand Central Station. And everybody gets on, and we like populate a couple of cars and make it a party all the way up to COSM. Don't you think that's a must? We have to think about that someday.
We have to. I mean, real trains are definitely a part of the vision, ultimately. You know, they're big, heavy things with very specific schedules. You know, we got to get our act together to really be like on the train. But I think because of the network and trains being all over the place, you know, they're these symbolic vessels that connect places, connect people. These kinds of vessels are also a place where time is in a weird in-between place, right? Because you're not where you were and you're not where you're going yet. So where are you? You're somewhere in between, right? And the train is such an interesting symbol and vessel because it actually brought us time as we know it now. Like, we did not need time as punctual and as specific before now. or before.
It has all of that. Your train now has all of that. It has the time and the schedule, and you got it, and the people are. Amanda, it has legs, Amanda. I'm just telling you, you've really done something that has a future.
And even if it doesn't come into the mechanical dimensions, the train of thought that you've been able to set loose has been something that I think has been a great well, there's a lot of suffering in the world right now, and a lot of the artists are very sensitive people who are feeling the suffering if they're not directly even affected by the pain. And so the creative process is something that we all know has been one of the most healing tools, during this time, that we can, in your vision train, that there's encouragement of so many different creative projects. And this is taking a direct encouraging energy to the world who tunes in and is able to process the tremendous amount of feelings that all of us are experiencing at this time. So we salute you, we respect you, we're so grateful that you've taken such an important step into the future, and not knowing where it will lead, but that's the most exciting kind of step that an artist can make. So, and it's the artists who are daring, along with the riding on the waves of cosmic creativity, as it were, to imagine the future. And I think that the arts are one of the premier places where we see a direct correspondence of the psychedelic experience into a physical form. The artists, and primarily the visionary artists around the world, are people who have had visionary experiences. They wouldn't be calling themselves visionary artists, or we wouldn't call it visionary culture unless it was dependent on a anchoring in the mystic experience of unity and a transcendence of time and space, a positive affect, something that is beyond words, but this is the primary reason that pictures, and as I've always felt, a kind of art theology is happening in the mind when we are witnessing the effulgence of God's creative, the divine imagination unfurling inside of us during the psychedelic mystical experience. And at its height, I would say that people who experience or have a mystical experience, it changes them. It alters permanently their orientation in life, and they then have a vertical dimension, that there is a higher world, there's a world of spirit, and there's a world of matter. And of course, they're all united, but there's also a multiple worlds that one can access through the imagination. And so the artist has always been the sort of the ambassador of the imagination, and in that way, the ambassador of the spirit, because they bring the spirit to form. And now, largely through modernism and postmodernism, we've gotten a kind of, God has been basically factored out of the equation of modern art, even though there was a spiritualist kind of beginning to modernism. By the postmodern era, spirituality was not something that was discussed with anything less than a kind of, revulsion, or did somebody, make
Put a smell in the
put
room.
a smell in the room or something. In my growth in art school and things like that, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, it's been a lot about materialism and about the material culture, the commercial pop art culture. And so this has filled the museums, and it's filled art journals and things like this about the what has basically gone for the meaning of art, which has been making it, a success. And so these are ego power trips and making a lot of money. So the visionary artists are not any of them really motivated by the same kinds of motives, because they've tapped into a spiritual reality that's basically said, there is the infinite, already inside of you, that there's you have this infinite well. And so I think that the visionary artists of today are the ones who are holding up the torch of spirit. And not that every artist doesn't. I feel that every artist does. They are all expressing creative spirit, no matter what they're doing. But if you're conscious of your higher consciousness and are weaving it into your work and making note of all the dimensions of reality, or at least alluding to the multidimensionality of things and to spirit itself, then that puts art back in line with the very foundation of art. 40,000 years ago, you'll find visionary art. And so today, and it was probably inspired by psychedelics. So today, artists are discovering the same thing. And I think it's the visionary artists that are doing it. And so anyway, I wanted to mention that.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's brilliant. That's sort of, gets us into the psychedelic conversation. I did want to say, though, that when we met Amanda, we were in a tremendous transition. Do you remember that? We were moving from the country to the city, and that was the first time I remember meeting you.
It was April 19th, though.
Brilliant.
It was on your birthday.
On your birthday.
Yeah. A lot of good things were born on April 19th.
That's right. That's right.
I like to remember.
That's right. And psychedelics changed my life. I can say that. I went right for it. I mean, I left home and just went right for it. I just knew that was something that I was going to try, like in the first minute, when I left home. And then I journeyed with great experience and variety for a period of, I guess, 3 years before I finally followed the advice of Ram Dass in the book Be Here Now, where he advised, he didn't really advise it. The truth is, he reported it, and I took it as advice. And he reported that, going into a dark room. See, Terence said this decades later, but Ram Dass said it earlier and spoke it in the Be Here Now book to me and many people I know. So, but anyway, doing that changed me from a agnostic politico type of, artist, doing art about the self primarily, really discovering myself in those, late teens and early 20s. And then, that was when I was 20. And then my work became about spirit, because that's where I just it was just the most important thing, to have seen the secret writing and seen God. It was it's not something you can unknow, as they say. You can't not see that, unsee that, no. And you can, people have died, defending their cosmic connection, their point of divinity. Jesus was the one, So, people have actually, because they know, because if you lie about it, so you have to come out. And I feel that, meeting you was around that coming out. It was like you were willing to, you had the experience in my apartment. So we both, we both came out to a public. We had to speak about it, because when people would ask you what inspired your work, you couldn't, you felt it would be an offense to God, really, to lie. And that's why I think a lot of us, just, intuitively, without really using the word God, many people, but, we feel that we'd be untrue to ourselves if we claim to not know that. And it's not, because it's the most wonderful thing that ever happens to you, really, is that you're connected to God, and that you
love is all there is, and all the kind of affirmative statements about life. It reinforces all the good reasons to want to live, and it also not only puts you in touch with that you are sacred, but that it gives you the sense that everyone has the same sacredness, and anything that's alive, anything that's conscious, a living sentient being, is a sacred thing. And the earth, therefore, it's filled with sacred things, and it is a sacred thing. And it's a sacred being, the mother, the cradle of everything. So it immediately reinforces the sense of an environmentalist and someone who wants to preserve what's left of our masterpiece of planet.
But people who see the divine, people who connect with the divine, people who have, have that contact, tend to want to share it. It's been going on in all traditions, that zealousness that comes on when you find it, when you feel like you've seen the one, you've been with the one, you've found it, and you want to share it like crazy. It drives other people crazy, because we don't always know how to do it with grace and deft and things like that. But but in being an artist, we can try to do that with grace and deft. We can try to portray, this profound connection that we've had, and the visions that we've had are the most important thing. Because when you hit that, you go, well, what is the point of making art anyway, except to share the most important thing? And before that, my art, even after psychedelics, really, even starting psychedelics, although I've always felt that when I started psychedelics and had not seen God, I was still an agnostic, and I was still, a politico. And it was just a product of my time in many ways. I feel that I think that we find God, and then we want to make art about it. You want to make art about the most important thing. And before that, the most important thing is self. Who am I? So a lot of people in their 20s and all the way through, we're always investigating that. It's always a part. But I think Alex and I both felt that our earliest work before we knew each other was so profoundly about the self and the mind.
I think it still is.
Well, it reveals the self, more than it's about the self. Because I feel like what we're doing is portraying an essentialized worldview, or archetypes, or something that's more unitive and more connective.
There's nothing, I think, that's more connective than the nature of the soul, or the self. The eternal self is the divine subject that is alive in each person. And that's why the Quran says, to know oneself is to know Allah, because God is that which is looking out through all of our eyes. It's that force that of creation and of life and consciousness itself. So it's and it's beyond that. So to know and to be in touch with that mystery, and to try to bring it into form somehow, I think is at the back of a lot of at least the mystically inclined visionary artists, and who we feel is so strongly represented through your work, Amanda.
Hmm.
Oh, you're such an inspiration, really, Amanda. We learned from you. We learned from you. You are doing something very unique. And what we're doing at COSM during the COVID is very different for us as well. I mean, you woke up one morning and decided Vision Train, it's going to happen, and you made it happen. And it was brilliant. And it's flourished. It's developed. I mean, the schedules of the people that are getting together on there, it's so worth it to play in that playroom.
You know, I wanted to touch on this, the opportunity that we have now, right now, with psychedelic culture and art that's been, you know, that comes out of people that have been touched in some way, not just by psychedelics, but by the mystical experience. And that we have this opportunity now to share the work and share the stories without being persecuted. And you know, in a way, we're able to reach others too that may be looking for the work in a much broader way than before. It was maybe just album covers. And I think you guys at the time, when, you know, how brave and courageous you were and committed to your art and to your vision. And I think the two of you together is a big part of that, you know, like affirming that for each other and being that support system, you know, and then for the rest of us and for the generations that come, you know, we look to those that have come before us and have paved the way to make a safe place for conversation, you know. And I feel that so, like the full moons at COSM, the, you know, the equinox, all the wonderful like facilitation that you've done for the community is where the integration also really happens, because we can have these incredible experiences that are often, you know, they're in our own consciousness, looking back at our own consciousness, looking back at our, you know, at the world consciousness, and it's very, very powerful. It can be very intense. How do we bring that into form? How do we bring that, you know, and the act of creating art is a very, very healing and integrative process, right? It's a way to integrate that experience and understand it in a deeper way. Like, you know, because to totally represent something that we've experienced literally, you know, is when it's, you know, it's such a multidimensional thing. And then in painting, it's maybe not going to look exactly the same, but what I've experienced through that approach, through even trying, then there's another layer of this great spirit and cosmic support that comes through and says, okay, friend, so you are showing up to the task. Let's put even more like mystery into it and more juice. And then you become really this instrument, right? And the painting, the correspondence, the conversation with the painting. And Allyson, I look at your piece back there and I wonder like how that painting, you know, to evolve something that is so complex and so perfect, you know, it's like this dance and this symphony. And Alex, your painting as well, like they're both symphonies, right? Like I can hear sound. I feel like I'm getting more sensitive to this in some ways, like the visual is giving sound. And I feel like in the future, I'm excited for the future generations that are going to be even more sensitive, I hope, you know, maybe through the healing that this era is going to bring us, that we'll be even more sensitive and we'll be able to hear the music that's embedded in the vibration of the paintings, you know, and some people do.
Yeah, you know, we had some clairvoyant come to the gallery once and was putting their hands close to they read the paintings. They were a Russian healer, and it was actually weird. I don't know whether you've done it, but you can feel an energy field off of the painting, and then that's different than the wall. You just go over the painting and then you go over the wall with your hand, feeling for the energy. And there's a bulge, a magnetic charge emanating from the work of art. Now, I felt it, and I think that it's something that's there. I've felt it when I've looked at different artists' works in the past. I mean, Van Gogh had a very strong energy field around the work. So I think that, like, absolutely. Well, I feel like, you know, our consciousness, you work for long periods of time. Frequently, an artist will work, you know, even months, if not years sometimes, on a work. Now, there's a lot of energy, just consciousness that's embedded then in that object. It's a psychotronic device. And so when another consciousness gets tangled into that, which a work evolves over like a long time. It's like some kind of natural thing that grows like a bladder stone or something sometimes, you know, and so it becomes this calcified or crystallized imagination. Holy crap. It takes a long time to download sometimes, you know?
I have to tell him what's really funny about that, though, because Alex did an exhibit on bladder stones at the Harvard Anatomical Museum where he used to work. He had a whole exhibit on bladder stones, so I have a background. They had bladder stones of elephants there. Anyway, getting back. I had to say that because it's the inside story of the bladder stones.
Well, okay.
They grow like what you're talking about, which is like an onion in layers.
Yeah. And so at any rate, I think that the soul is like that. It offloads and crystallizes in our studios.
Yeah, and there, you know, that layering, you know, is very much like the way of painting also evolves, you know, and it's like you can have an idea, you have a feeling in the beginning, you can plan it out to a degree. Some people plan it out more, some not, you know, there's so many different approaches to beginning a piece. And it's good to try both, you know, because they both will reveal so much along the way. But the way of going towards an image when you don't actually know what it's going to be yet, you know, you really leave it open and you ask for that guidance and to see what that exploration, where that journey is going to take you. It's a very, very interesting and very, you know, it can be frustrating, challenging. I mean, you get to confront a lot of your own, you know, judgments and fears and resistance. And it's a place, you know, especially in a group. And that's something that is a big part of, I feel like, visionary art and culture, is that we love to work and paint together. You know, we get together, we learn together, and then we also like to, at festivals, we'll do, you know, live paintings, or, you know, and there's something that comes through that act of creating together, which is such something that I couldn't have, I don't think, even imagined before I really experienced it on that scale with, say, live music as well. And, you know, the energy, the real concoction of creative excitement being expressed in different ways. And then what happens when we become open vessels for that exploration and we step aside from our fears of not being good enough or not being, you know, it's such a mirror to life. I feel like painting, I can always reflect it back to life and how it's a mystery, you know.
I can say that during this 4.5 months or whatever, we've been, you know, in pretty much quarantine, sequestration on this property. We've really like sunken into painting with such luscious delight. You know, I don't know if everybody out there is having it. There's just so much more that we can immerse ourselves in here without, you know, and so we feel almost like the responsibility to take this time because, you know, our intention, of course, is to reopen I mean, there's no getting around it. We're doing okay, you know, we're staying buoyant because of, well, we're working on Cosm.tv, and we're putting out regular programs. We have a program every week. We have interviews, but we also have the full moon and the new moon. And now coming up next will be the autumnal equinox. So we have the equinoxes and solstices. I was thinking for the Deities and Demons Masquerade Ball, though, we all should get together on the, you know, maybe on the train, and everybody get dressed up. You know, that would be amazing. But anyway, we won't be having an open probably event until Entheon opens. That's our plan. Is that Entheon, which is, you know, coming closer and closer to all the completions are right up ahead of us. Many of them started before 4.5 months ago. Many of them in process, like, you know, to get a 25,000 gallon tank built and made, and you have to wait 8 weeks, you know, for them to even deliver it. So we've been, you know, things have been unfolding, and we have to do some big things and some small things and some installing. And I should just say, as long as we're, you know, I don't know, we have plenty of time, but I thought I would just update on our present. And that is that we're having our first preview of the interior of Entheon virtually. And it's coming up at the end of this month. So we've not done that, like taken a walk through. And when we do, it is our intention that the sacred mirrors will be hung, will be in the room, so that the entire show will not be hung, but anything that is up will be visible, and we will walk through. But it's for members, and if they get the first, you know, they've made a stand. A member is a person who makes a stand for our future. So become a member. We hope you will, and yeah, and so that's going to happen at the end of the month, and
I don't know that you've described Entheon, but it's we call it a sanctuary of visionary art. And of course, the first use of the name Entheon was at Burning Man many years ago, and where we had a camp with Matt, and a longtime friend, and Matt Atwood, and put together Entheon Village. And so a lot of visionary artists.
It was Alex's name. He had it in a book for over 10 years before that. And you were thinking about building. We were thinking about building since '85. So
yeah, I always thought it would be this Greek, you know, museum or temple of visionary art.
You offered it to the Burning Man consortium that we put together with Matt.
Seemed to work for the theme that year, and so. I guess there were a few years of an Entheon Village that were on the playa. So we're grateful to, you know, keep using that name now at Cosm, to you know, see the Burning Man has been the, I think, foundational exhibition space for a lot of visionary artists, and in the same way that it's been a station in the festival circuit, even though I know that Burning Man is not really a festival, it's a community and a community artwork. But some of the other festival culture and things like that that have helped nurture, I think, our tribe, the visionary art tribe, are all around the world. And it's how, because we've traveled the world, you've gone everywhere, both teaching and performing. You know, that's what Allyson and I also were doing for the last like 10 years or so. And as we were basically trying to tell the world about the project of Entheon, hey, it's something we're doing. You know, we're just a couple of artists. We're volunteers here at Cosm, you know, putting all the money that we make from everything that we do into building this community and the Entheon, the Sanctuary of Visionary Art. So, you know, for the first period of time that after it gets open, we'll have Allyson's and my artwork on the second and third floor. On the first floor, there will be the All One Gallery thank you, David Bronner, for the gifts that have been meaningful, important support for the Entheon project. And so we got his permission to call the visionary art movement kind of gallery, the All One Gallery.
And let me say that Amanda, a COSM board member for years now, was the first invite to the All One Gallery. I know that. That's for shizzle. Yeah.
I feel so honored to be
excited. Yeah. But we're going to have a group show annual. It's going to be an annually rotating show. And that, you know, when we open, you know, we will bring works from all over the world. You know, there's works coming from all over the world, really.
We got a great Fuchs, yay! You know, so that you know, at least we can represent for some. So we're trying to get together other works, and meanwhile, we still haven't hung anything. So, but it's all coming together, and we still
Davies
don't.
and Demons, Drinking from the Milky Pool, is coming back to us from Switzerland. I mean, it's been all over the world.
You know, and it's time. It's such interesting time, actually, that the Entheon is going to be opening now kind of on the other side of this great shift. I mean, we're in the midst of it, right? But this COVID has affected the entire planet in some way. You know,
how has it affected you, Amanda?
How has it affected me? I mean, it's actually, I know some dear friends and family that have been very deeply, directly affected, you know, that have lost life, have lost a lot of time, very, very, you know, challenged with the health aspects of it. It's affected me more so with not traveling and being as involved in all the places that I normally would have been. And it has been a great blessing in that way to be able to focus on many of the projects and things that kind of, you know, didn't always have the absolute top priority because of all the, you know, you agree to do things, be in shows and teach workshops and do things, you know, months and months, years in advance. And then, you know, when it comes to it, there's just so much activity, and I feel almost busier than ever before, but I also feel grounded like never before. And I feel like this is, you know, the amount of painting and really community building. And this is something that has been so important to me over the years. It's just felt like a natural part of my contribution, you know, having been brought through the kind of training and the kind of family of the fantastic realists and Ernst Fuchs. You know, I felt this real, you know, duty in a way to pass it on. And so this way of encouraging and supporting others to step up and share their visions has been such a major part of the role that I feel. And I think there's so many people that have also, you know, you touched on this earlier on around art and how it has, you know, in the last 50, 60 years or so been shifted in many ways towards a more materialist, or, you know, the focus has been in a more deconstructionist and a more kind of like, and so much good art too. I don't want to criticize that at all, but not, you know, spirituality, psychedelics, you know, spirituality especially maybe has been not something very, you know, okay to talk about or to really make work about. And also technique in many ways. So like this technique of like really learning how to draw and how to paint, you know, was kind of like left out. And I remember being in Vienna in the years when I was, you know, in my early 20s, like the art academy, the Fine Art Academy in Vienna, there was nobody teaching painting and they weren't interested in it at all. And I was interested in, I mean, they were interested in painting, but not in like actually learning how to paint. It was like, no, be totally experimental. No, don't try to do anything that has been done before. Do something totally new. But I was like, but I feel like if I actually learned how to really technically represent something that I can see as best to my best ability, then I would be better off in painting anything that I can imagine, right? It made sense to me. But I feel like giving these tools and offering these tools to more people and supporting them in a process that has like really helped empower people. And it's not just like, okay, I can make a beautiful thing or something that's really of value. It's like there's a deeper support of the spirit that wants to come through them, you know, and that takes time, it takes focus, it takes, you know, and then we need support. And so building this community, it's like, okay, we can have workshops, we can have these little intensives where we dive deep like we do at COSM. This would have been, I think, our 8th or 9th annual year at COSM. And I'm so sad that
everything. Well, but program, you know, you have to live on the balls of your feet. That means that you move like a basketball player. You know what I mean? If you have to weave and bob, and we have, and we all have, and we've adjusted. And I think what we've created is something that we always wanted to create here, which was COSM.tv. I mean, we really wanted to do programming that could touch people. I mean, people would say to us, I'm in Australia, why should I become a member? You know what I mean? So, you know, this is connecting with a zillion more people than we ever connected with before. That's the thing. I mean, it's really, we are really connecting. And so we want to polish it. We want to be better at it. We want to learn. And we're none of us film school graduates, and we're figuring it out. It's so wonderful that we can live in an age where you can do that and have that many views. So people that are willing to see what you're doing, and you know, we are, you know, really working on ourselves doing that. But you know, then there's all the friends that have been just making it possible for us to continue. So we're very, 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 very grateful that we're still here and learning so much.
Yeah. It's a time of profound isolation and interconnection. All the polarities are tugging in each direction, it seems. You know, we've never been more kind of sequestered and alone, but for the visionary tribe, they've probably never been more connected, you know, and all the virtual tools that are enabling us to connect with each other's really soul-to-soul communications. I think that it's one of the most positive forces alive in the world today. And I salute all the visionary artists out there that are learning, training, and developing their skills so that they can take whatever they see in their imagination and try to bring it out and share it with the world. I think, you know, this is a great thing. After you take psychedelics, then what? You know, how are you going to share what happened? Well, you can try writing about it, and I think everyone should.
Making art about it, making music about it.
Making art, making music, the creative, expressive capabilities are endless there, and they something that may be unexpressible in one language may just take another language. And I think that the more art that we encounter, the more in touch, hopefully, we are with the beautiful. And for me, this gets back to the kind of roots in how art can serve a culture and serve a sacred culture that like the Greek values of truth, goodness, and beauty. You know, I think that these are the kind of classical concerns that the visionary artists are resurrecting as the really prime motives that have always driven the arts. And so the experience of love, this is another theme that we see reflected in visionary artists' work. You know, they're the ones that are courageous enough to keep saying the truth, as maudlin as it may appear to people, and no, avoid these overworked subjects of romantic love, or of one thing or another, or beautiful harmonies and things of color. I frankly think that these things really reinforce or feed a hunger in each of us. You know, that the soul hungers for something more than junk food, you know, which is what so much of commercial entertainment winds up being. And art can still, you know, stand for this still small voice of conscience that's alive in the hearts of, I think, everyone, really. And
well, I think our community needs every kind of initiative, whether it's television and podcasts and art and music and festivals and retail and, you know, and retreat centers. And it's our community is global, and it is creative, and it's beautiful, and it's upwardly spiraling. It's about truth and beauty. And so, I mean, it's very attractive, and a lot of people want to play. And part of the biggest idea about it is everyone can play wherever you live, you know. So I think that's what we are creating. Us creators are creating not just our own work, which is important to do, you know, to offer it, you know, to keep offering it to the community, to develop ways for us to be interactive. And so I think that we're all doing that in our own way. That's our initiative, is to do that.
And we're developing a dialogue. You know, I think it's so much about the dialogue, and it's not just the end product or even the goal that it's all like crystals and rainbows. And, you know, there's a shadow side that is very, very important for us to recognize. And there's plenty of times, you know, and it does, I think, you know, within your work, you know, within our paintings, we explore that, but then also acknowledging that in a community. And no, there's days when there's trips, you know, that show us a totally different side as well, you know, which is the rot and the dissolution, you know, the emptiness. There's moments that we go into that space, and there's, you know, it can be very, very lonely, and it can be very scary. And I feel like the development, though, of this love, you know, the love is the thread that is the continuous thing that, you know, when you do get lost, there is still a beacon of hope, or there's a safety net to hold you. And I think that's a part of like the essence of this community, you know, and building trust. And in a time when truth is so hard to find, you know, when we look out into the world, there's so many people that are saying so many different things, and it's, you know, which direction do you go? There's all different kinds of platforms. What can you trust? You know, and then we go back to have the prompt to go back within ourselves and ask ourselves, well, what is my truth? You know, not regurgitating what somebody else has said, but what is really my truth? And that's something that the artist can really dive into, and is, I think, encouraged now more than ever, you know, to be authentic, you know, and then be authentic in our demonstration of how we come together and how we connect and find the synergies within, you know, beyond just the exhibitions, you know, beyond just the, you know, the external like front. You know, there's an underlying workings that, you know, it's not all easy, and it's not all pretty, you know. And the building, running an incredible center like Cosm, Chapel of Sacred Mirrors in New York, you guys have a huge team, and it's not always easy. You know, it's relationships and people working together and finding a common thread that they keep coming back to and say, we're in service of something that is greater. And your vision is that Cosm is going to be there forever. Entheon is something that is here for all the generations to come and commune and remember, you know, and be witness with these pieces in person, to hear their sounds, you know, to feel the prayers that have been embedded in every little paint stroke, you know.
Well, I feel like the Burning Man and Cosm and Vision Train are like 3 different examples of an art sangha. You know, like the Buddhist teachings, they have the 3 pillars, I guess, that there's the Buddha, of course, the source, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And so the Sangha is the community, the spiritual community. And so for a lot of artists, there is this sense of isolation. And if you're getting stuff done in the studio, you do have probably something you have to do by yourself, you know, but at the same time, so that makes it hard to have community. But these different now virtual means have given us new tools to grow our communities so that we don't feel isolated, we don't feel alone. We can see the soul work of other people and be encouraged, you know, to continue on our own way.
I'd like to exchange the word hard for challenge, because I feel that, you know, hard is like, you know, I can't budge, I can't get there. And challenge is like something that, are you willing to take it on or not? You know what I mean? You could say it's a challenge I'm not willing to take on about a thing, but I'm just saying we've taken on a challenge, and it isn't hard. It is a blessing. It is a super, super blessing, because if we didn't have Alex's work is so attractive, and it's so wonderful, and so many people love it, that not to use that power for the good, you know, and for others, and to give it away, you know, it would not be a blessing like it is. You know what I mean? It is a blessing. And so I think they, you know, and everyone should consider this when they're doing art or creative things or whatever they do with their life. You know what I mean? If they, you know, to be thinking about how to serve others, you know, and how whatever it is that they're doing is in service to others. I mean, that makes the life beautiful, is that it would serve others. And if you keep serving others, you will thrive, I think. I mean, I think you will thrive. It's just a challenge sometimes. Well, but you know, that's what life is, makes life sweet, is to meet challenges, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like we were saying, like the psychedelic experience has united people all around the world. That, wow, okay, now we know of another world, and there's people who know of this other world. Just like people who've been to Burning Man. Once you've been there, holy crap, you know, now you know that there's a world.
Never forget it. You will never forget it.
You know,
no.
And so
you won't say, oh, which festival was that? No, you won't say.
Well, it makes for possibilities. And so I think that all of this is trying to imagine a functional planetary civilization. How can we get there? How can we not destroy the web of life completely? How can we save our collective asses and preserve what's left? You know, because it's beautiful, it's amazing, and if we don't stop killing ourselves, you know, we won't. There'll be an end to this beautiful dream, and we don't want that. So, you know, the creative energizers like these festival cultures, and like just anyone's creative life, you know, can keep that engine lit. And I think it's the sacred fire that's at the heart of planetary civilization. It's been lit in all the festival culture all over the world already. So we know we can all still dance and look at beautiful things and be inspired to be with each other in an experience of love. You know, we meet on the dance floor and it's all okay. It's possible to build a utopian world, and one that doesn't, strangle nature, but works in partnership with it.
It's possible to be a beacon of light. Amanda's, your work and the Vision Train, a beacon, beacons of light. People would be depressed in their studio all by themselves, but instead 24 hours a day, 3 o'clock in the morning, they can go on and see if anybody's there.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I think we live in amazing times. I think we're incredibly fortunate. If we're going to have a pandemic every 100 years, it sure is lucky to be living in a time when we can communicate with each other like this and stay safe.
And I want to really invite those that are tuning in to get on board, in whatever way that looks like for you. Because every single one of us has a piece to the puzzle of this story that is unfolding, and each of us have such a unique way of sharing, of doing things, and we need everybody. And there's so many different ways to get involved, whether you identify as an artist or you're just inspired by, and you have different ways of using and bringing your creativity forth. If you're curious, you want to find ways, we are in this together, right? And we want to support you. We do. I feel that the Vision Train, the projects that Cosm is working on, and the things that all the projects we're linked to, we're connected to such a wonderful global tribe that I see is through this pandemic now stepping up to connect in new ways that make it more available and accessible to more people, and that's really the goal. We're building the tracks, we're building the connections in a deeper way, the relationships, and let's just keep going. And you have some piece of the puzzle, you have a clue that that we want to know about, right? And so we would love to welcome you as a member of Cosm. Join us on this amazing, unveiling, revealing virtually. More of us will get to see it than we would have if we were in person, and we're going to get to go in person one day. So it's all about the and. It's not the either or. Let's do it all. You have
encouraged us that it's possible for us to have as many people as we want in a room and make it work. And we're going to do this tour, the membership tour, by Zoom, and the questions will be, live. So, because, watching you do it, it's like, it can be done. So, and it allows us to be with a lot of people at this time. I don't know. It's just a great gift. So, thank you.
For everybody that does not identify as an artist, I just wanted to say this real quick. We want to play with you too. We want you on board, and we're just the Vision Train is doing its first exhibition that's going to be opening in 2 weeks, the Mushroom Magic exhibition. Okay. And that's one of the initiatives to start to really open up more and find more platforms that we can really support a larger collective and audience. And we're going to be streaming almost 24 hours. Our opening event is 24 hours long because the train never stops.
Isn't this the first exhibition you've had?
Yeah, it's the first exhibition, and it's an experiment, and it's a community experiment. Many of the paintings were started actually on the train, and so many of the people, I have to say, we have various WhatsApp groups, in the background, and Messenger. We're using all the platforms we possibly can until we build our own, that's coming. But, to wake up in the morning and to see from all over the world, different people and their ideas and their support for each other, because we all share in carrying these trips. There's 4 trips in a 24-hour segment, and the conductors are artists that step up and say, I will take responsibility for keeping the train on the tracks for this trip, which are 6 hours long. And sometimes, you sign up for one, but then you have to go do something else. But then you just put it in the chat. You say, can anybody help me out? And then there's, oh, you know, sure I will, sure I will. And that's community right there, you know?
Of people, and
Yeah.
they do have time and they want to play.
Yeah.
So anyway, but before we wrap up, because I think they're going to have us wrap up soon, I just want to make sure that we give our full gratitude and support and love to MAPS, sponsor this program. And they have been beloved by us for quite a while. It's decades, I think it could be said. Rick Doblin, you are a man. You are the man. And we are so grateful to what you've started and how you've been progressing in making psychedelics. You know, I think that they had a spot on psilocybin on 60 Minutes last night. I heard. We don't get cable. But I can't wait to see it. It'll be on YouTube sometime or something. I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited, though, by its public, you know.
The mainstreaming of psychedelics.
Right.
And so this is a wonderful development in our lifetimes.
I'm so grateful to MAPS, and I'm so grateful to Ryan and Sarah for putting this together, and the Zendo.
And Entheogeneration. You know, this is a great series of dialogues that we're proud to and honored to be part of.
Oh.
And I just wanted to say real quick too, that through the mushroom exhibition, many of the artists are going to be donating like some of the proceeds of the sales of their works to MAPS and many other charities and various organizations. And I'm not sure actually if MAPS knows this yet, but I think it's always good to you know, be raising money and giving a portion, tithing a portion of the sales of your work to things that you really believe in. And that's a practice that we're starting with the first exhibition on the Vision Train, and to really spread the love in as many ways as possible. And you know, we need money to do things, to do great things. And what the work that MAPS is doing is really connecting, you know, the science and the experience in the mainstream now. Thank you so much to all the people and Rick and the culture around it, you know, and we need the art. The art is the signposts, you know, to paint the signposts for the future. And we need all the visions to come through now more than ever, right? To support people in imagining the future that could be.
We are so grateful to our community. We are so grateful to our planet for all of the resources. And we're so grateful to just this moment when we could be together. Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Mm.